Hello, everyone. Welcome. Amazing. Fantastic. There we go. People are entering in. If you have your video on today, that's amazing. We always love to be able to engage and see you. Also, all good if you don't have your video on, no worries. Lovely to see everyone, recognizing some people from yesterday as well. Honestly, I'm always so excited about the Creative Business Summit. This is something really special that we run occasionally. We generally run it once or twice a year. And this is going to be all about day two. So if there's anyone that wasn't here yesterday, I am going to do a quick overview of what we did yesterday, and then we're going to be diving into mindset. Right. So those of you that were here yesterday, that are here now live, can you just put a takeaway from yesterday in the chat? What did you learn? What was interesting? Have you had any aha moments since then? Was there something that you found really profound? Was there something you found surprising? If everyone that was here, or if you've watched the recording, if you can pop something in the chat, what did you learn? What did you get out of yesterday? What was interesting, impactful? I know the $300 plus stuff, the valuable offer is pretty impactful for a lot of people. It's often kind of surprising as well, and sometimes a little frustrating when they hear that kind of laid out and what we've really seen around that. So just a reminder to those of you that were there, or if you weren't there, we were really talking about this idea of the valuable offer being something that we really recommend focusing in on. And this is something that you would charge at least $300 for, right? And that's kind of tough to hear for some people because you might be focusing on things that are under $300. We gave lots of examples of like prints or print on demand, sometimes even licensing. There's a lot of things that people are sometimes doing and they're struggling to make it work. And they're wondering, maybe their art's not good enough. Maybe there's something wrong with them, right? And it's like, no, it's just how they've designed their business, where they're putting their focus and energy isn't something that's very sustainable, right? So we have clients that we work with that do have things like art prints or to get involved in licensing in different areas, but it's just not the core of their focus. So, right, we were really talking about this idea of making sure that 70% of your energy is going to be on things that are $300 plus. Now, 70% is a little bit arbitrary. Some clients we work with, it might be more, it might be less, it might be a little bit different as well. So, just looking at some of the things in the chat there, yeah, the $300 plus offer. There we go. It is something that is pretty surprising when people first hear that, but yeah, it comes up again and again. It's like, it kind of seems obvious when you start thinking about it. It's such a numbers game. If you're selling something for $10, you need to sell so much every single month and next month again and next month again. Even if you can charge $100, you have to work with a lot of people. You have to sell a lot of things every single month. Whereas what we're saying is if you can charge at least $300, it makes it much easier to build a long-term sustainable business without burning yourself out, without having to work 80 hours a week to be successful. Right. And, this is where minimum of 300, well, 500 is better, 1,000, 2,000, 4,000, right? These are all great things as well. Other things being shared in the chat, learning to narrow down offerings, having core focus to my market, business, brand, and taking action. Absolutely. Taking action. I love it. That is a big focus of what we really get people doing too, is just helping them to get out of their own way and actually take action on things. Look, those of you that weren't here yesterday, I'm just going to give a really quick intro and then we're going to be diving into it. My background is that I had my own creative business for 11 years. It was in the live event space. During that time, I went and got my own entrepreneurship masters. I started teaching entrepreneurship as well and working with a lot of different creative programs for a whole number of years, especially with universities right up to a master's level, helping them to helping people to actually implement the business side of creative businesses. So that's something I did for quite a few years. And then eventually that evolved into me doing more coaching and mentoring and teaching outside of those programs. And eventually that evolved into what I do now with Flammable Entrepreneur and helping awesome visual creatives to grow. I'm from New Zealand originally, but am based in the US now. We're a US based business. And most of our clients we work with are in the US and Canada. Cool. So that's a bit about me. The other thing I don't talk about so much is that we also run retreats occasionally as well. So I've run sort of various retreats over the years. The last retreat I ran was last year in Morocco. It was an artpreneur retreat. I think that's a really fun combination of words there, artpreneur. It was super fun. So hopefully going to run some more of them in coming years as well, because that was always a blast. Awesome. Cool. So that's a bit more about me. Those of you that have not connected with me or my team before, we're going to be giving away a couple of things on this call at the end. One of them is those of you that haven't managed to book a call in with Paul or Alyssa. We'll be talking about that. We've even got Alyssa who's actually here on the call today as well, joining us in. The other thing we've got is we've got a freebie right at the end where I'm going to be sharing a really cool downloadable about my morning routine that I have. It's a really cool freebie that we're going to be making sure we get everyone here. So make sure you stick around for that as well. Look, it's so important as we learn things today, we're looking at what can you action, what can you implement based on your knowledge. We talked a lot about this yesterday. What are the things we can implement? How do we make sure that we're getting beyond just, the ideas, the theory? Taking lots of notes is good, but actually, how do we take action? How do we move forward on those ideas? All right. So I really want you to be mindful of this today as well. We're going to have some activities we'll work through. Make sure you've got a workbook, a worksheet, something you can write down on, or even a document on your computer so that you can actually take some notes and we can get some things implemented as well. I used to, as I mentioned, I used to teach a lot at universities, a lot of different university programs and public programs. One of the reasons I got those contracts was because I'm very good at helping people to actually action and implement things. Right, getting beyond that theory. We all know that universities sometimes are not so great at that like action implementation side. They're often very good at the theory, and there's often that gaps, that mismatch. So that's actually why I ended up getting involved in those ways and did that for a whole number of years while I was running my own creative business at the time, and then eventually started actually implementing that into our programs as well. Okay, confidence, mindset. This is today's topic. We know that ultimately confidence and mindset is such a foundational part of building a business, of growing a business. And it's something that people sometimes overlook or they don't really understand the importance of. It can sound a little kind of like woo-woo sometimes, right? But it is incredibly important. So what I want everyone that's here to do, everyone that's here live to do now is I want you to rank your confidence as a business owner, 1 to 10, 10 being high, 1 being low, right? No right or wrong answer. Just kind of curious to see where people are at. How do you rank your confidence as a business owner, a creative business owner? It can sound pretty terrifying even just saying that, but do you rank yourself as a 9, a 10, a 6, a 1? You're like, Logan, I'm not a business owner. I don't know why I would call myself that. You could say you're a 1 or 2. So for everyone that's here, just type a number in the chat. Where do you think you're at? And there's no right or wrong answer. No judgment either. It's just really a reflection of going, where is my confidence at as a business owner? Cool. 6, 7, right? Cool. Nice. And part of it here is just really getting you reflecting on where are you at when you think about something like confidence. Now, why does mindset matter? And it's another question I'm going to ask. I'm going to get you to pop that in the chat. Why does mindset matter? Like, why am I dedicating an entire day of the Creative Business Summit to this? If you pop in the chat, why do we care? Why am I deciding that a whole day needs to go to mindset, confidence? Pop something in the chat. Why is this stuff important? Curious to see what people can come up with. Why are the things important here? Why does it matter? Yeah, Sherry, I love that. So longevity and quality of life and purpose and motivation. I love it. Mindset is key to growth. And it's kind of interesting, like every piece of the creative business is actually connected to mindset and confidence. Right? We talk about like the marketing side, right? You're like, oh, okay, I have to do these marketing things. If your confidence is really low, then you're going to struggle to get that done. Or you need to create something for a client. If your confidence is really low, you're going to struggle to get that done. So confidence and mindset actually underpins every single part of growing a creative business. It's really, really interesting. Other things being shared here in the chat. So because it's the basis of everything, can't depend on being motivated all the time, but confidence in a plan, habits can get you there. Plan/habits can get you there. I love that. And I think this is really interesting because if we kind of wait for motivation and confidence to like be there, right? You just wake up in the morning and it's like, today I feel confident. Great, I can move forward. Right? Well, the reality is we're not always going to feel that. We're not always just going to magically feel confident or feel motivated. Right? But there is things that we can do to become more confident, to feel more motivated. It's kind of interesting because sometimes we think about these things backwards of like, well, I'm not feeling confident today. I'm not feeling motivated today, so I'm not going to try and move things forward. Well, actually moving things forward, taking action will increase your confidence, will increase your motivation. It's kind of an interesting thing that can happen. So, it's kind of fascinating the very human mindset we'll have around things like confidence, things like belief as well. And this is something that we work with people a ton on is the stuff here: confidence, belief, mindset, understanding there's plenty of opportunities. One of the big things that comes up is this idea of actually feeling like you are a creative business owner right now. A creative business owner. Sometimes when I say that, people are like, what are you talking about? That's not me. Like, I'm a freelancer. I'm a creative artist. I focus on these things. Yes, maybe I bring some money in, but like a creative business owner, like, oh, this isn't really kind of a business. It's just more this thing that I do and I get paid for. And I'm like, hey, like if you are doing this yourself, you are a business, right? Like if you're not employed, then you are a business doing this if you're earning money. And even if you're not earning money yet, you can still call yourself a creative business owner because this is about intention. But for a lot of people, that kind of sounds intimidating, right? They're like, do I need to like get all dressed up and go to like a board meeting or something? Do I need to be like talking to like getting an investor on board and having shareholders? It's like, no, there's lots of different types of businesses and there's lots of different definitions of being a creative business owner. So we're going to really talk through some of those things in detail, but I want you to be very, very aware that that's a mindset we often do need to shift from a place of like, oh, this is just kind of something I do to like, hey, I'm a creative business owner. I'm building a creative business, whether it's part-time, full-time, on the side, whatever that looks like. It's really, really interesting. Okay. So first thing I want to dive into is number one, becoming your successful self. This is really, really interesting. So some of you may have heard the quote, be the change you want to see. Right? We have a lot of control over actually ourselves being successful. We need to actually be the change before you can see the change. In order to achieve something that you've never done before, you have to actually become the person to achieve those goals. You actually need to do that first. It's a bit of a mind warp. But actually, if you want to achieve something, you need to become the person who has the habits, mindset, and ability to achieve that. Right? So if you, for example, want to earn $10,000 in a month, well, you need to start thinking about, okay, well, if I was earning $10,000 a month right now, how would I behave? Right? Like, how would I live my life? How would I run my day? Right? So let's say if you're earning $10,000 per month in your creative business, you might be like, well, if I was earning that, I would be getting up when my alarm goes off in the morning. My alarm goes off at whatever time, 7:30, 8:30, 9:30, doesn't matter. When it goes off, I would be the sort of person that would get up when the alarm goes off. And you know what? I would maybe go and do 10 minutes of yoga, or I would go outside to get some fresh air, right? Because that's what someone who would be earning $10,000 per month would do. Or like someone who's earning that amount would have consistent meal times and they wouldn't skip lunch because we know we have to have consistent food for consistent energy, right? The interesting thing is to get to the $10,000 point, you need to actually start acting like that before you get there, right? How are you going to get to earning $10,000 per month? You're going to start behaving like someone who would earn $10,000 per month. And I'm talking about the habits and mindsets that you would be focusing on. So it's very, very interesting. And it really starts to change the way that you start to interact with the world. It's not that once you reach 10K per month or 5K per month or whatever number your dream or your goal is, it's not that then you will become that person. When I'm earning 10K per month, oh, of course, that's when I will get up at this time. That's when I will eat consistently. That's when I will do the things I say I'm going to do. That's when I will have goals. It's like, no, to get there, you have to start doing those things. Now, the beautiful thing about this is that most of the habits and the things that you would do if you're earning that amount, you can do them now. Right? It's kind of as simple as that. It's quite fascinating, but a lot of these things you can do now. Now, what I would love to do, we'll do a bit of a brainstorm here. I'd love for everyone to add what's one thing they could do right now to start acting like a creative business owner, a successful creative business owner. What's one thing that you could do? Could be today, this week. What's something that you could lean into? Right? We'll get everyone who's here live in the chat, pop something in the chat. Those of you that are watching the recording, write something down. What's one thing that you could do to start acting like a full-time creative business owner, a successful creative business owner? What's something that you can do? It might be wellness related, right? It might be you're like, you know what? I've been talking for years about like picking up yoga or meditation. right? I can imagine someone who's earning that amount would probably be focused on those things. Well, the good news is you can do that today. And you don't have to be a yogi, and you don't have to be a guru doing meditation for many hours and floating through the room. No, like you can go and you can do a 10-minute yoga workout. You can go on your yoga mat after this call, or if you don't even have a yoga mat, you can lay out a towel and you can go do 8 minutes of stretching. I love it. So some things here in the chat. So blocking out time for different tasks and daily needs. Jerry, I love it. Absolutely. Actually blocking out time, making time for the things that you need to do to run a long-term successful creative business. Time blocking is a huge habit of successful people, right? Most people kind of just do the stuff that's in front of them. Right? They're like, well, I don't know. I've got stuff to do. I've got emails to take care of, and I've got messages, and I've got to do these things. And then kind of whatever else I feel like doing, I guess I'll do. Right? Successful people who are earning good amounts in their creative business in sustainable ways will do things like time blocking. That is a habit that they will have. Time blocking is where you'll block out an hour, 2 hours, and say, this is what I'm going to be doing during that time. Right? So that is a fantastic one. I absolutely love that. Other things being shared here. Set aside a designated time for business hours. Oh, I love that one. Cheryl, that's an awesome one. Set aside time for business hours. We're going to talk a little bit more about this as well, because it's kind of an interesting one. It's like, well, part of being a full-time creative business owner is that you get to set your hours, which is a really beautiful thing, right? You can work when you want to work. That can also come with challenges of like when you should work, what time you should work. You could feel like you suddenly are working all the time. And that's actually more typically what happens. Right? It's not that you think, oh, I can work whenever I want, I can work less hours. Typically, what tends to happen is people fall into routines where they're just working all the time and they start feeling burned out and exhausted. So, actually setting aside designated business hours. I love that one. Other things here, Bonnie, set aside schedule time with my phone, right? On do not disturb to focus on specific part of my business. Oh, the do not disturb on the phone. My favorite do not disturb function on the phone is airplane mode. Like it kind of blows me away, but apparently you can use airplane mode when you're not on an airplane, right? It's like, of course you can, Logan. Come on, right? There's like one tap button, boom, airplane mode. You're not gonna get people messaging you. You're not gonna get an interruption. Powerful, simple, right? I love it. Okay, other things on here. Yep, blocking out time to focus on creating newsletter, content creation. Yes, so blocking out time for those specific tasks. Something we work really closely with our clients on is how to make sure you're actually spending time on the right types of things, the things that are important on the business. Because there's like 10,000 things you can do in the business right now. Absolutely. That's kind of overwhelming. Let's make sure you're doing the things that actually are important, that have impact. Because we can all fill our time. We can all fill our time. We can all fill 60 hours a week doing stuff. Absolutely. That's easy to do. Is it doing the right things? Are you making time for things that are actually impactful and things that are easy to avoid? Right. It's kind of easy to do some things because there you can email, or if you're doing client work, well, you've got to keep up with deadlines, those things there. But what about posting on your Instagram? If you don't post on your Instagram, there's probably not going to be someone being like, you haven't posted on your Instagram. Right. So it's something really interesting around that. Promoting myself on social media. There we go. For myself, my offerings out there to the world. Absolutely, Bonnie. This is another one, right? What are the things that you can do to be successful? Well, putting yourself out there. What are the things you'll do when you are successful? You'll also be putting yourself out there, right? Promoting yourself, promoting the work that you do. The biggest problem that exists in business is that not enough people know that you exist. This is so, so essential. That's the biggest problem that most people in business, especially creative businesses, have, is that not enough of the right people know you exist, right? So it's not just anyone, it's the right people who are willing to pay what you are worth. Being on social media, being seen, interactions as if I am a successful, responsible business. So, I mean, I love that. That's such a powerful one, right? It's, hey, like acting on social media, like I am someone that is earning this amount and achieving these goals and being successful at this level. Because it's so easy to be like, well, I'm not at that point yet. When I am earning that or when I have that following, then I'm going to engage in this way in social media. It's like, no, like to get there, you actually need to act like you're already there. It's kind of interesting how that works. I love that. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about, number 2, growing through discomfort. growing through discomfort. You're going to have to do some uncomfortable things to get to growth, right? This is the truth. This is the reality, is that there's going to be some things you're going to need to do and personally grow in that aren't always just going to feel in flow, easy, straightforward, natural, right? Because to grow a creative business, to take things to the next level, you're going to have to do things that you probably haven't done before. You're going to have to learn stuff that you haven't learned before, right? That you haven't learned before. And that can be kind of overwhelming and a bit scary, right? When we're all children and we're doing things, sometimes fear pops up. Whoa, learning to ride a bike for the first time. Those of us that drive cars, remember like the first time trying to actually get a car working. It's like, wow, that's pretty terrifying stuff. It's the same whenever you learn something new. There's often a resistance to that. We've got to be very aware that that's a normal part of growing a business, is there's going to be some discomfort. I'm not saying it's all going to be hurtful and painful and traumatic. No, that's kind of the extreme. I'm talking about discomfort. There's going to be times where there's going to be some discomfort. So something, an idea that we do really need to debunk is this idea of something not resonating with me. Now, I'm not saying that you can't use that, and there's times where that does make sense. We just need to be aware when we say that term. And we've heard it, for example, in something in marketing. You might be like, outreach, right? Email outreach. That doesn't resonate with me. Yeah, to be honest, it doesn't resonate with many people, right? Not many people are like, yeah, easy, fun, love it, right? Especially if you've never done it before. It's easy to say, oh, that doesn't resonate with me. It's like, of course it doesn't. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it, right? Because we've got to be aware that sometimes, in some cases, that phrase can almost be kind of used as an excuse. Oh, I don't want to do that. I can't do that because it doesn't resonate with me. It doesn't feel in flow. It doesn't feel easy. It doesn't feel good. It's like, yeah, something like cold outreach probably wouldn't. If you just started using social media, it'd be the same. However, you can learn, you can grow, you can become more comfortable. Of course, there's going to be times where maybe something doesn't make sense or it doesn't make sense, and you may not feel that that makes sense for you. That's totally fine. But we've just got to be aware when we use a phrase like that, we might just be avoiding some discomfort and playing in our safe zone, right? Playing in our comfort zone. We know that ultimately to grow a creative business, you're going to have to get out of your comfortable bubble that you exist in. And it's kind of terrifying. It's kind of scary. Do you need to go far? Do you need to get very, very uncomfortable? No. Most of the time, you just need to dip your toe, get slightly uncomfortable, and ideally do it with support, with champions, with people behind you to help support you, hold your hand along the way as well. So this is a really, really interesting thing. And I think what's connected to this is the idea of failure, and failure being something that's really bad. So failure where you try something, maybe in your creative business, and it doesn't work and you fail. And you're like, I failed, I am a failure. Actually, the reality is that failure is part of growth. Failure is part of learning. Right, we have a whole section of this in our programs because we know that ultimately a lot of people have very strange mindsets around failure, which is kind of normal for people to actually think failure is a really bad thing. Actually, successful people have lots of stories of failure, right? They have some stories you would not believe that they've worked through and they've grown through. They've personally and professionally worked through. They've come out the other side of it and they've learned something along the way. So failure is actually a normal part of the journey. If you never fail, it probably means you're playing too small. You're not pushing your own potential. If you've had lots of failure, you've probably learned a lot of stuff. Right? It's a really, really interesting thing that comes up because it feels negative. It feels like I've done something wrong and I am a failure. Actually, we need to flip that and go, wow, like I'm having some failures along the way. That means I'm really pushing my own potential. I'm trying things. I'm putting myself out there. Right? I'm testing my own limits and I'm learning along the way. That is a powerful mindset to have. So I'd love everyone to do a 2-minute brainstorm. You don't need to pop anything on the chat on this one. On your own document, I want you to do a 2-minute brainstorm. What have you failed at recently? What have you failed at recently? It can be personal and professional stuff. You don't need to share anything you don't want to in the chat. This is just on your document. What have you failed at? Could be throughout your life. It could be from when you were a child. It could be recently. It could be something you failed at this week. right? I failed at actually making my cup of tea this morning and I spilled it everywhere. It was a bit messy. Right? Something that you got wrong that you failed at personally, professionally. It could be that you tried something in your creative business and it didn't work. You broke something. Sometimes rather than using the word failure, you can think about, something that didn't work, something that broke, something negative that happened, right? Crashing a car is a failure, right? Failed to give way, maybe. So just take another minute or so and just see if you can get some more things down. What have you failed at? What have you got wrong? What hasn't worked out? I'll just give everyone another 30 seconds on that one. What else have you failed at? Could be that you failed a paper at school, or if you went to university, you got a big fat F on something, fail. You could even write down other things you failed at in life, personally and professionally. It doesn't need to be within the business. Maybe there's an exam, a driving test. So what's really interesting about this activity, like if you've noticed that you couldn't really think of anything or nothing really came to mind or you've got a very short list, it's probably actually saying that you probably haven't actually really been pushing your own potential. You've been playing in the safe zone, right? And it's okay. It's recognizing that. Maybe you just need a bit more time to come up with some more ideas. That's totally fine. There's probably a few people here that just were like, oh my goodness, I've got a whole page of stuff. Oh, and you could say like they might be like, oh, I'm an absolute failure. Look at it. So it came up. I don't know what you're talking about. A short list, Logan. Like I filled a whole page. Well, I'm like, then you're probably a super learner, right? You've probably learned so much every time. And maybe some of those failures really hurt. Absolutely. But you learned and you grew. Really, really interesting. So part of it is really flipping this idea of failure and what it actually means and what it actually involves. Failure is okay. Now, are we going to purposely fail on purpose to learn from? No, right? We want to avoid failure. That's kind of also the point here is like we want to ideally avoid things like failure, of course. But when failure does happen, we go, okay, that means I'm pushing my own potential. That means I'm putting myself out there. That means I'm trying. And this is an opportunity to grow and to learn. It's an opportunity to grow and to learn. Really, really interesting. One of the things that comes up for a lot of people when it comes to business is just like the longer in they're in business, the more failures they have. As you grow a business, as you become more successful, you just have more failures, but you learn faster, you grow quicker, and you learn how you can utilize those failures and turn them into something great. It's really interesting. Often you think, okay, the longer I'm in business, the less failures I'm going to have. Like, no, you're still going to break stuff. And sometimes the things you break are kind of bigger, but you get better at actually making things work and growing and learning from them. And yes, it's more measured. You're careful. You know that, you don't want to have a failure in your business that's going to break the business. But you've got a more experience around that. Okay. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to talk about this shift of the mindset. So number three we're talking about here is the shift from the mindset of an employee to a business owner. Now, I'm sure there's people here today, live or on the recording, that are like, yeah, that's me. I have a day job right now, part or full time. Right. I'm sure we've got people here who are in lots of different situations. You might be caring for family members. You might have had a full time job. You might be looking for a full time job. You might be taking some years off. Whatever the story is, there's usually a shift that needs to happen from being and having a mindset of an employee to a business owner. There'll also be people here who are like already in business, but this is something that holds them back. right? So they've been maybe doing this for a while. And we've worked with people who have been in business for like 10 or 20 years that still had some mindsets of an employee that were not serving them. So this is really interesting. This is a shift that needs to happen for pretty much everyone. Is a shift of going to, I'm an employee, I have a boss who manages us, who tells me what to do here, to, hey, I'm my own boss. And it sounds amazing. Yay, freedom. Amazing. I get to work when I want, do what I want, sort of work. I get to work with the clients I sort of want. It sounds amazing. It's actually kind of scary. It's pretty hard. And I'm sure there's some people here who are like, yeah, if you've made that shift, it can be scary. It can be difficult because suddenly, yeah, you can work when you want, you can wear whatever you want. And sometimes you can feel pretty demotivated by that. Right now, it's something I've noticed for myself. Like whenever I whenever I work in like my sweatpants, like my yoga clothes, if I work in like a t-shirt, so I'm not on calls. I'm always, wearing a shirt or something if I'm on a call like this. But I'm not on calls. I might be like, well, I'm not on any calls this afternoon. I'm gonna go get changed. I'm gonna put my slippers on and get nice and cozy, put a t-shirt on, put a beanie on. It's like I start feeling really demotivated because those are the clothes that I relax in. Right? Those are the clothes I put on at the end of the day when I'm not working, or even in the morning before I work. And I start feeling really, really relaxed. And you know what? Like, yeah, I might be planning to work the afternoon, but suddenly I feel like, all I want to do is like lie on the couch and read a book and relax. That's the feeling. So it's really interesting because, like, as a business owner, yeah, you can do that. You can dress like you want. You can work when you want, but also that can come with some downsides. So it's kind of almost backwards, and something that we often talk to our clients about is that they sometimes need to actually treat being a business owner a bit like a job in some ways. I heard someone mentioned earlier on fixed hours of work, right? Like you get to decide when you work. Well, yes, but you need to decide and you need to actually make a plan. Because if you're like, oh, well, I'll work whenever I want, A, you'll probably end up just working all the time. And B, you might feel really demotivated some of those times. For me, right, I actually find working pretty much 9 to 5 actually works really well for me. My 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. I quite like that, right? Yes, there's flexibility, there's freedom. Take time off to be flexible. But actually, I find that working really well. I don't actually want to work on a weekend, but I could. I could decide to. I have the power to do that. So it's kind of interesting because you're kind of really combining some of the ideas of working for someone into your business, but doing it in a very different way. Now, look, everyone here, I do not mind or care what you wear, when, whatever, you make it work for yourself. If you find that you feel good and motivated wearing slippers and pajamas, like totally fine. Absolutely. But I think it's something that you need to be aware of as well, is that things like what we wear when we work can have a big impact on how we feel as a professional creative business owner. Right? It's kind of crazy, but like, yeah, sometimes I will literally go and get changed because I'm like, it's going to change how I feel. And it does, right? You go and put, something that I would maybe get on a call on with people. Well, I feel more motivated. Yeah. So Bonnie's just sharing that here in the chat. I noticed that feeling during the pandemic when we started work from home more. I was like, yeah, we can work from home. We can wear whatever we want. It's fine. Is the jokes about you wear your pajama bottoms on the bottom, and then you've got like your professional outfit on the top. Like, great, you can do that even if you're on Zoom calls. But you can sometimes feel pretty demotivated. Feel a bit, I don't really feel like it. I can't be bothered working today. I'm not in the zone. I'm not in the flow state. So sometimes it's actually getting into that outfit. It's so interesting. And this is part of that shift of mindset, but it's kind of almost backwards from what you would think. So actually being a creative professional, being a business owner, comes with like actually having a space to work from, getting dressed for work, having fixed time of work, ideally having like a fixed space to work from. Right? Yeah, you can work from anywhere. You can work from the kitchen table. You can work from the couch. Maybe, but also it's really important to have ideally a space. Not everyone's going to have like a spare room or a home office or something like that if they're going to work from home. But is there more of a dedicated table or area you could work? Because if you're working from the kitchen table, you may feel like you're hanging out in the kitchen. That might be kind of demotivating for you. It's kind of interesting. The other thing people really think about, when they're making that shift from business, from being an employee to a business owner, is that time of work. I already talked about that, but let's just talk about that a bit more because the time of work can have a big impact as well. Maybe for you, it's 9 to 5, or it doesn't have to be. We kind of use 9 to 5 as a reference point because that's what a lot of people do. But you could choose, I'm going to work Monday to Thursday. I'm going to work from 6 a.m. until 2 p.m. Right. One of the things that I do is, those of you that don't know, I think everyone here knows now I'm from New Zealand, right? So what does that mean? I go and visit New Zealand occasionally. I'm actually going to be heading there after Thanksgiving, right, in a couple of weeks. So for me, when I'm there, I'm not going to be working 9 to 5 because most of our team and clients are in the US. So when I'm in New Zealand, I generally work from 6 or 7 a.m. until 2 or 3 p.m. Fun fact, everyone, the time zone from New Zealand is not that bad, not as bad as what everyone thinks if you're in the US. It's kind of like my fun fact I love to share. Right now, New Zealand is 3 hours off Pacific time. Everyone's like, what do you mean 3 hours? So it means that like 7 a.m. in New Zealand is 10 a.m. in Los Angeles. However, I will say it's actually 21 hours. It's an entire day. It's so far around the globe that it's an entire day. So it's actually 3 hours in an entire day. So it means that I work from Tuesday to Saturday when I'm in New Zealand, which is Monday to Friday in the US. So there we go. A bit of a fun fact, but it's really about making it work. And for me, that's what works for me is I still need to be on for my team, for our clients. So I shift that time of work. But it's kind of cool because I get to be flexible and I get to work from where I want to work. I can go visit my family in New Zealand, go see my parents, go see my sister. Okay. Next thing we're going to talk about, number 4, we're going to dive into. I've written down for this one, I love sharing this, is hell yeah, self-care. So excuse my swearing, but self-care, everyone. Self-care, looking after yourself is one of the most essential things as a business owner. And people kind of think about them as different things. There's me as a business owner running my business, doing my thing over here. And then there's like me personally looking after my own health. These things are connected. You are your business. If you're having a bad day, your business is having a bad day. Most people we work with don't tend to have a team, right? We mostly work with people who are trying to leave their day job or trying to grow their business. And this is just them, right? They're graphic designers, they're illustrators, they're muralists, they're people in this visual creative space. Sometimes they're photographers. And what they actually want to do, they want to grow their business, but they need to also balance things personally as well. This is so, so essential. If you're burned out, if you're overwhelmed, your business is burnt out, your business is overwhelmed. So we need to make sure that as business owners, you're investing in yourself. You investing in yourself, you investing in your own self-care is investing in the business. Same thing, right? One of the things that I strongly believe is that a massage, like going getting a massage, is actually a business cost. Now, our accountant may not agree with that, and that's fine. Maybe not from a tax perspective, that's okay. But what I'm talking about is that you looking after yourself and doing something like a massage or going for a walk or going to the gym, these are things that look after you and that therefore has a positive impact on your business. And it's something we do within our team as well, right? We often do self-care challenges and different things like that as well, and make sure people are supported. Sometimes that's getting massage. All right. So, investing in yourself is investing in your business. Self-care is incredibly important. Sometimes this is the thing that gets in people's way of growing their business. They're just always on, they're going for it. They're like, yeah, I'm hustling, I'm trying to do all the things, I'm working all the hours. And, I'm working so hard these days and it's not working. Things are not working. Things are not moving forward. And actually what they need to do is probably work less, look after themselves more, take more care of their health, their eating, their fitness, their wellness, because they're feeling exhausted all the time. They're not getting enough sleep. Sometimes the journey of growing a business is actually a wellness journey, a self-care journey. Incredibly important, right? What we're going to do now, I'd love everyone here to do a bit of a brainstorm around what you can do to look after yourself. A bit of a brainstorm, once again, just on your piece of paper here, on your document. Write a list of things. What could you do? I'm not saying what you will do. I'm saying ideas. What could you do to look after yourself? What are things that look after you? Doesn't need to cost money like a massage. It could be taking a walk. Could be catching up with a friend for a hot chocolate. It could be doing some mindfulness or some meditation. It could be taking a nap. It could be going to bed an hour earlier. I was like laughing with my team. I think it was yesterday. Like, oh, I was starting to feel a little sick, and I just took lots of vitamin C and got more sleep over the last few days, and magically I didn't get sick. Like crazy. Would you believe it? Like we were all having a laugh. It's like, oh yeah, like that does help. Not every time, I will say. Sometimes we try those things and we still get sick, but I bet it stops us from getting as sick, especially this time of year. This is something to be very, very aware of, especially this time of year. Those of you in the Northern Hemisphere, right? This time of year, getting colder. I'm in North Carolina at the moment, and yeah, getting colder, cooling down. We're around a lot of people, family. People are moving all over the place with Thanksgiving this week. Some people going through airports. I've got a friend flying in tomorrow. He's probably going to bring some bugs from other places as well. Right, so it's a time of year where we can easily get sick. There tends to also be extra stresses with family, friends. People are starting to think about Christmas, getting colder. Right, so actually taking extra care this time of year is really, really important as well. Cool. Give everyone another 30 seconds on that brainstorm. See, ask what you can come up with. What else could you do? What else would look after you? What are the things that make you feel good? I'll tell you one thing I'm going to be doing, which is definitely a fun like activity, self-care, is some puzzling. I don't know if anyone else here loves doing some puzzles, but like Thanksgiving, perfect time for doing puzzles in the US. So we're definitely going to get a puzzle going. All right. I would love everyone here that's live. Can you just pop one idea in the chat? One thing in the chat. What could you do to look after yourself? What's one self-care thing that you could lean into? Something you could test out in the next week or two. It's one thing that you could do. One thing that might help you. One thing you can lean into. Oh, oh my goodness. I love it. So many good ideas in here. Meditation, absolutely. I love that. Such a good one. Meditation's such an interesting thing because like I think so many people are like, oh, meditation's like not for me. I'm like, I have so many ideas going in my mind. Most creative people have a lot bouncing around in their mind. And so much you can do meditation wise that can be incredibly powerful, even if you're not that type of person. I've done a lot of meditation and I'm definitely not that sort of person. I always had a lot of ideas in my mind, but actually slowing things down has actually been really powerful for me. Go on a run. I love that. Absolutely. Go outside, get some fresh air, go on a run, go on a walk. Face mask and bubble bath. Bubble bath. Sheree, that's my favorite thing. Face mask and bubble bath. I think we all need a face mask and a bubble bath. Oh, I love that. I think yesterday, those of you that were on the call yesterday, I was in Richmond. Any of you that were like, you mentioned North Carolina. Yesterday it was in Virginia. I did, after the call, actually travel down to North Carolina because we're staying with my partner's family for the week. So I'm now like, do they have a bath here? I wonder if I can have a bubble bath. See if anyone has any face masks. Here we go. I love it. Volunteering, less time in front of screens. Absolutely. Right? That's such a good one. Journaling, limiting screen time, phone detox, right? Get that airplane mode going. Absolutely. Pilates, taking walks, talking to friends, sauna blanket. Oh, sauna blanket. I don't actually know what that is. Sashiko, you should pop in the chat. What's a sauna blanket? I'm going to be Googling that. That sounds great. Very cool. So many good ideas. And by the way, everyone, if you do not have everyone else's ideas, like write them all down. This is part of it as well. It's like everyone should write down bubble bath and face mask and maybe sauna blanket because I think we're all curious about what that is. But really interesting things here is like this is all fun and we're having a laugh and we're kind of coming with some cool ideas. Like every single item here on this list is an investment into your business as well as yourself personally. And that is so, so powerful. Because I think sometimes we think we're taking something away from the business when we're not, like emailing a client, posting on social media, sending a cold email, right? We're like, oh, well, I'm not doing stuff right now. It's like, no, like so many of these things, actually, all of these things here are adding something positive to your business. And they're going to help you to do the other thing. Spending less time in front of screens is actually going to help you when you do need to spend time in front of screens. You can be more effective and more efficient, right? So, so powerful, right? Taking walks, get those steps in. Does anyone else track their steps, right? Most of our phones these days have ways to track their steps, like the health app on iPhones. I got like a step app I really like recently, and it's great. It gives me a little reward thing if I do 10,000 steps. When I say reward, it just like throws some confetti on the screen and like buzzes. It's really fun. Like, great. Amazing. I love that. Very, very cool. So lots of good things here. I don't know if everyone else is clicking this link in here, but I definitely am. A sauna blanket for detoxification, portable infrared sauna blanket. I've heard of these. Yeah, this stuff really is taking a bit of is really growing these days. That the infrared saunas and these different things. So very, very cool. So it might be yeah, it's a Black Friday deal as well. Those of you that the link's working from the US. So there we go. I love it. Very, very cool. Awesome. So love all the different ideas, what everyone's diving into here on this, because ultimately this is really getting you to think about, what are the things that you can do around mindset to actually look after yourself, to actually grow your business. Very, very cool. Okay. What we're going to do next is we're going to do a bit of a brainstorm for things that you can take action on. And this is actually based on anything you can come up with today. It could be related to what we've covered today around mindset, it could be related to what we did yesterday. But I want everyone here to do a brainstorm around actions that they can be taking in the next 2 weeks for their creative business, right? So new list, new heading, actions. And I'm going to give you some criteria. Actually, I'm going to give you basically one criteria. It has to take 15 minutes or less to do. Right, so I want you to write down a bunch of action items. Now, one of them could be acquire a sauna blanket. That's definitely allowed. One of them could be to book in something here or do some volunteering. I love that, Cheryl. Right, to organize a bubble bath. Right, well, I think we all want to spend more than 15 minutes in a bubble bath. It's allowed. You can make some exceptions on the list if you want. Right, but what are some things that you can do? And it doesn't just have to be related to mindset. This could just be other things in the business that you need to focus in on, you need to lean into. But I just want everyone here to do a bit of a list of actions, because actions is also about mindset as well, right? We need to have a mindset of being an action taker, of getting things done, of making decisions. It's incredibly important. So setting achievable actions is really, really important, right? So that's our number 5 here, setting achievable actions. And the activity we've got around this is to actually do a brainstorm right now, take a minute or two to make sure we've set some actions, what you can be doing to work on. 15 minutes or less, bubble bath exceptions, fine. What can you do ideally in the next 2 weeks? What are the actions that you can take? What are the things that you can do? Because ultimately, setting actions and then taking action is going to motivate you. It's going to motivate you towards your dreams, your goals, your visions. Can you do it all today? No, absolutely not. Can you do one thing today? Probably. And just give everyone another 30 seconds. See what you can come up with. Okay. Keep working on that action list, but something you can do after the call as well. I'd love everyone here to just to pop one commitment to action in the chat. One thing you're going to get done in the next 24 hours, right? So just to be clear, you've got to do it before tomorrow, right? So tomorrow we have day 3 pricing of the summit. One thing that you're going to commit to and get done in the next 23 hours, technically. What's one commitment to action? One thing from your list, 15 minutes or less. It can be absolutely anything around creative business, looking after yourself. I mean, Bonnie, you can do 15 minutes of organization and backup art on your iPad, right? That's totally fine. Right? That's a good commitment to that. Because, yeah, it might take you longer than 15 minutes, but that's cool. Just, yeah, you could set a timer and be like, I'm going to do this for 15 minutes. Yep, same with that. Cheryl was like, spend 15 minutes working on that, working on a book cover mock-up. What else have we got in here? Create some content for Instagram, invest in physical mental health. Dedicate 15 minutes a day to creative business brainstorming and 15 minutes self-care as a reward. Oh, I love that. That's awesome. I'm definitely going to be searching to see whether we have a bath at my partner's house here to have a bubble bath. I don't know if we'll be able to acquire a face mask, but there we go. Decorate 2 ornaments. Awesome. Right, so part of the creative side of your business. Nice. Love the commitments to action. Very, very cool. Okay. What we're going to do now, so I've got a few final notes. Part of what we did yesterday. I know some of you booked calls in with Alyssa, who's here on the call today as well, and some of you booked in calls with Paul as well. If you haven't booked a call in, we'd love you to book one of those calls in. I'm going to drop those links in here, right? There's Paul's, and I'll pop Alyssa's in. Once again, just one or the other, not both. And this is a chance to debrief from what you've learned. Right, we do actually have some times literally tomorrow if you want to jump on a call with one of them tomorrow. Otherwise, time for next week. And this is an opportunity to digest, to debrief, to chat about what you've learned. Right, these are free calls that we're offering. And just remember that if you do book it in, we're just asking for commitment. Make sure you show up on time. Don't hang out in the car on the phone. We want you to be in a stable environment. Otherwise, Alyssa will get motion sickness like I do. Right, we'll be going, right. So that's a really important thing. Be ready to take action. The place to, where you actually want to grow. You're open to sharing ideas where you're at, being vulnerable, sharing your dreams, sharing what's getting in your way of growing your business. Right, and Paul and Alyssa will be able to really dive into those things with you. There's some of the coaches on our team, and they're absolutely amazing at what they do. A really, really powerful call. Awesome. So I've just popped those links in there. People watching the recording, we're going to include those links in the email as well, just to make sure you get them booked in. We're totally all good with if it's this week, next week, or even the week after is fine as well. We get this week's a little bit of a funny time. Those of you in the US, it's pretty busy. Hence, we only have a couple of times for tomorrow this week. Otherwise, next week or the week after is totally fine for those. A chance to digest. Honestly, I do recommend sooner the better, though, because ultimately you're going to be able to digest things from the summit the sooner you have it. Love it. Okay, so the main action item for today is that I want everyone here to do that one thing in the next 24 hours. Right? You've made a commitment to action. Make sure, if it wasn't that clear, make sure you're clear on what you're going to do. Because I'm literally going to be like, did you do the thing tomorrow? Who did the thing? We're going to have some fun around that. Don't worry, there'll be no judgment, but we'd love everyone to action the thing that they want to action. Right? Do one thing in the next 23 hours before tomorrow's summit training. All right. Now, I did mention we've got the downloadable freebie. So let's make sure I get that into the chat right now as well. This is a really fun downloadable. If everyone pops this open and just make sure it's literally just a link to this downloadable, you can then click download. It's a direct link. You don't need to add your email to anything. This is basically a morning routine to help you win the day. Right, have a read through. It's really fascinating. There'll be some good ideas. You do not have to have the exact same morning routine that I have. That's totally fine. Even my morning routine has evolved since I've done this here as well. But there's some really interesting stuff in there in terms of things that you can do to look after yourself. Right, one of the simplest favorite things, drink a big glass of water. Most people don't do this, but that's one of the things we talk about in there. There's a whole bunch of things in there. So make sure everyone here who's on live, make sure you click that link, open that up now because it won't be here afterwards, and make sure you can click download so that you have a copy as well. Here we go. I'm definitely putting on a ridiculous face mask and taking a bath. Thank you for the morning routine, all the ideas. Looking forward to tomorrow. I appreciate that, Terry, as well. That's very, very cool. Cool. That's us for today, everyone. Honestly, it's just been such a delight to run another one today. And just a reminder, tomorrow we are going to be diving right into pricing, right? This is going to be a really interesting one. This is something a lot of people struggle with. So for day 3 of the Creative Business Summit, we're going to dive right into that. If you can't make it live, try and come along live if you can, because it's the more interactive part. But of course, totally get it if you can't. Make sure you watch the recording. We'll send out the recordings for people that have signed up as well. We're going to wrap things up there for today, team. I'm going to see if I can go find a bubble bath and a face mask. Awesome. All right, everyone. Take care. Have a lovely rest of your day and looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thanks, everyone. Absolutely. Thanks, Karine. Thank you.